Game lab number 14 is going to be another exercise that uses some conditional programming. And this time I've provided some code that you will be editing. There will be two different links to do two different programs on Google Classroom. You can click those links. You'll have to click View Code, Remix, Rename. And then you go ahead and perform your task on the code. Now, there's a handout also posted on Google Classroom that looks like what you're seeing right now. Excuse me. And you'll have basically two jobs on each one. And I'm going to show you what the programs look like in a minute. But one of them is a car racing toward the finish line, and you're going to have to make the car move. You'll use a counter pattern for that. And then you'll also have to add a conditional if block. And this goes back to what we did in lesson number 13 in Game Lab 13. A conditional if block to check to see if the car has crossed the finish line. And when that is true, when that condition is true, you got to make something happen. And exactly what happens is up to you, but something has to happen when the car crosses the finish line. I'll show you an example in a minute. The second bit of code that I have linked up is kind of like New Year's Eve. There's a ball that's on top of a building and it drops down, and so you're going to have to make it drop. You'll have to add some code to make the ball drop down the screen. I'll show you in a minute. And then also, when the ball gets down to the top edge of the building, you have to have a conditional if block to check, okay, has the ball dropped far enough? And if it has, then you got to make something happen. And again, I put on here that the event that you make happen doesn't have to be a complicated event, but something has to happen. You have to have an if block that is checking the condition. So let's go look at these. The code that for the car, the code that you will receive looks like this. And if you run it right now, nothing happens because you have two jobs that you have to perform. And they're not really new jobs. One of them is you got to make that car move to the right toward the finish line. So that's going to be a sprite.x equals sprite.x plus something, right? So it's going to be a counter pattern. We've done it in the last two assignments. So you've got to make that, you got to make the car move toward the finish line. Then when the car crosses the finish line, and I would say that X value is around 350, 370, somewhere around there. When the car crosses the finish line, then something has to happen. All right, and here's an example. And I'm not going to linger on this because I'm not, you do your own code. When I run mine, boom. All right, so the car gets to the finish line, and you can see right now on the game screen what happens. When on mine, here's what happens. Everything kind of disappears. The background, let's look at it again. Let's watch. So it's a gray background, and you see the finish line. And then when it hits the finish line, there's some things that happen. The background changes to white. The finish line disappears. The car disappears. And some text appears on the screen that says winner. Now, if you were to pause this video, you could look at my code and you'd see how I did it, but whatever. All right, so that's the demo on the car one, right? And you're going to have to do your own and turn it in. When you get the code, the car's not going to move, and there's not going to be an event for when it crosses the finish line. That's what you have to program. All right, so let's look at the other one. What's the other task that you have today? There's some code that's called ball drop. You'll see the link on Google Classroom. And here's, if you click, or if you hit run, that's all you've got right now. So it's like New Year's Eve. I don't know if you've ever seen the New Year's Eve thing where the ball drops down toward the building, but the ball, the big mirror ball thing is sitting at the top right now and it's not moving. So you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to make it move down the screen. It has to move down, straight down that line. And then when the ball gets down and hits the building, right, when it's down low enough, when it hits the building, you need to make something happen. And again, what you make happen is up to you, but you got to make something happen. And here's an example. All right, so if I run mine, the ball is dropping, boom, and then it just says there's some text that pops on that says Happy New Year. Now, you might also notice that the ball stopped right? I kind of, and again, if you're looking closely at my code, you can see how I did that. I've got an if block in there that says if ball.y is greater than 300, and then I made some things happen. And so there it is. That's my version of it. What's your version going to be? That's what I'm looking for. So you have two, I should get two links from you today. One of them would have the car, the car race thing, where when I run the program, the car goes to the finish line, crosses the finish line, and then something happens. And then your second one is the ball dropping, and when it gets to the building, something happens, right? Whatever you want to make happen, make something happen. And you use an if block to trigger the event. So yeah, short movie here, right? Short movie, that's it. I'm done making a movie. But that shows you what your task of the day is. And so good luck. Off you go. Have at it.